There's this truth in the Bible that many misunderstand. They misunderstand what happens when we die. Uh, it's important that we know. I never understood why it would make a difference whether you believe that you go to heaven right when you die, or if you're just sleeping in the grave when you die, or what happens. But it's really important that we know. Ecclesiastes 9:5 says, "The living know that they shall die, but the dead know nothing." Um, so they know nothing. And then when Lazarus was sick, Jesus told his disciples, "Well, Lazarus is asleep, and I'm gonna go wake him up." And the disciples were like, "Why would you wake him up? If he's sleeping, he's gonna get better because you're supposed to sleep when you're sick, to burn off the fever or whatever." And then, since they misunderstood Jesus, he told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead." So Jesus himself compared death to sleep. He didn't say, "Lazarus is in heaven and I'm going to go call him back down." The reason this is important to know that death, you don't have any knowledge when you're dead and that you're sleeping in your grave. 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 17 talks about the dead in Christ will rise at Jesus' second coming. And then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together to meet the Lord in the air. So these dead people aren't in heaven. They're sleeping, waiting for the Lord's return. And like I said, the reason this is important is because the Bible also says Satan himself can transform into an angel of light. So if he can transform into an angel of light, can he transform himself to look like a dead loved one who's coming to give you extra knowledge that is against the Bible? Well, probably, and you're probably going to believe it if you don't know this truth from the Bible. You're probably going to believe this is really your dead loved one who got coming to give you some form of knowledge. And so just like think of when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness by Satan. Jesus didn't say, "Depart from me, Satan," until the third of the temptations. And so Satan could have transformed himself into an angel of light then when he's tempting Jesus. Are you truly the Son of God? But maybe you're this fallen angel that fell from heaven. You know the scriptures. I mean, he was very crafty, and Jesus hadn't eaten for a long time. And I know when I'm hungry, I get confused, sort of, too. So he was very crafty in how he was presenting himself. And I don't want us to be fooled by this if we don't know the real truth of the state of the dead. The dead are sleeping. They're waiting for Jesus to come. The the one example of someone who I know went to heaven after they died is Moses, and that's talked about plainly in Jude. But then other verses say that David is sleeping and waiting for the Lord's return. And I'll post those texts, but look them up. Moses is one of the ones that was dead and had a special resurrection. And it's stated in Jude that Satan was contending for the body of Moses, and instead of bringing a railing accusation against him, Jesus basically said, "The Lord rebuke you. Moses is mine. I'm going to be shedding my blood for him," type of thing. And Moses and Elijah are special people to God because they represent, if you remember the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus met Moses and Elijah on the mountain, and this was before he was going to die. And Moses and Elijah were there to encourage him. They were examples of all who would be saved by what Jesus was going to do. It was an encouragement to him. Moses represented all those who would die before being raised again at his second coming, or, raised to life. Elijah represented all of those people who be translated to heaven without seeing death, just like Elijah was. So it's important to know this.